Hello everyone. Now let's start with Module 5 topics. The main topics in the Module 5 includes the database transaction processing, schedules, concurrency control in databases, deadlocks, etc. And in this video, let's look into some transaction management concepts. Okay. So let's start with defining the term transaction. A transaction is nothing but a unit of program execution which includes a collection of operations that access and updates the various data items. That means a transaction include a collection of operations like read and write which access and update various data items. Okay, so a collection of operations that form a single logical unit of work are called transactions. So a set of read and write operations that form a single logical unit of work are called transactions. And it is an indivisible unit of processing. Okay, fine. A transaction, as we said, it is a sequence of operations and that must be executed as a whole. And when we executed the sequence of operations, it takes the consistent database state into another consistent database state, right? So after updating a database, it will move to another consistent state, right? So a transaction is nothing but a sequence of operations that includes read and write operations on various data items, and they must be executed as a whole, which takes the consistent state of the database into another consistent state. Okay. Now let's discuss about this asset properties of transaction. The asset properties include four properties like atomicity, consistency, isolation, and durability. And these properties are intended to guarantee the data validity in the database, though there occurs any errors or power failures. Okay, so the first characteristic is atomicity. This atomicity guarantees that each transaction is treated as a single unit, which either succeeds completely or fails completely. That means the transactions can never partially commit. It should either succeeds completely or fails completely. Okay, if any of the statements constituting a transaction fails to complete, then the entire transaction fails and the database is left unchanged. That is, their updates are applied as all or nothing. Okay, so if any transaction fails to complete, the entire transaction fails, and so the database is left unchanged. It won't affect the database. So an atomic system must guarantee atomicity in each and every situation, including the power failures, errors, and crashes. So the atomicity guarantees that each transaction is treated as a single unit which either succeeds completely or fails completely. Then the second property is consistency. This consistency ensures that a transaction can only bring the database from one valued state to another, maintaining the database invariance. Okay, so any data returned to the database must be valid according to all defined rules, including the constraints, triggers, etc. So the consistency refers to the database being in a legal state when the transaction begins and when it ends. Okay, so this means that this transaction cannot break the rules or integrity constraints or triggers defined on this database. For example, if an integrity constraint states that all accounts must have a positive balance, then any transaction violating this rule will be aborted. Okay, so this consistency ensures that the transaction can only bring the database from one legal state to another legal state or valid state. Okay, this is the second property. The third property is isolation or independence. As you know, these transactions are often executed concurrently, right? That is, the multiple transactions can have this read and write operations to a table at the same time. This isolation ensures that the concurrent execution of transactions leaves the database in the same state that would have been obtained if the transactions were executed sequentially. That is, the isolation refers to the ability of the application to make operations in a transaction appear independent from all other operations. Okay, so the updates of a transaction must not made visible to other transactions until it is committed. So isolation is the main goal of concurrency control. Depending on the method used, the effects of an incomplete transaction might not even be visible to other transactions. So these transactions will be appeared as an isolated or independent transaction from all other operations. Okay, so this property is useful when we are going to have concurrent operations. That means when multiple transactions reading and writing to a table at the same time. Okay, so each transaction will be appeared as an independent transaction or an isolated transaction. Okay, and the fourth property is durability. This durability guarantees that once a transaction has been committed, it will remain committed even in the case of a system failure. Okay, so after a transaction completes successfully, the changes made to the database persist even though there occur system failures. This usually means that the completed transactions are recorded in non-volatile memory. The changes made to the database will exist. Okay, so that's the fourth property, the durability property. Okay. The transactions can access the data using two operations, read and write. The read of X means it transfers the data item X from the database to a local buffer belonging to the transaction that executed the read operation. Okay, so from the database it will be transferred to the local buffer which executed that read operation. Okay, then write of X means it transfers the data item X from the local buffer of the transaction that executed the write back to the database. Okay, so it transfers the data item X from the local buffer to the database. Okay, read of X means it transfers the data item X from the database to the local buffer, and write of X means it transfers the data item X from the local buffer to the database. Okay, fine. Let TI be a transaction that transfers rupees 5,000 from account A to B. Okay, this transaction can be defined as, the first operation is we are reading the account of A, read of A. Then from the account of A, we are going to withdraw rupees 5,000. So A is equal to A minus 5,000 and we are updating it, write of A. Okay, so from the account A, we took 5,000 amount. Okay, then what's the next step? We have to deposit this one to the account of B. Okay, so we are reading the account B and we are updating it with 5,000. So B is equal to B plus 5,000 and we are updating it with the help of the write operation, write B. Okay, so read of A is equal to A minus 5,000, write A. Read B, B is equal to B plus 5,000, write B. So all these steps together form the transaction TI. Okay, so a transaction is considered as a series of read and write operations. Okay, now let's discuss about the transaction states in DBMS. These are the states through which a transaction goes during its lifetime, and these states tell about the current state of the transaction. Okay, and there are different types of transaction states, like active state, which is the initial state. Okay, so when the instructions of the transaction is running, then the transaction is in active state. Okay, so this is the initial state. The transaction stays in this state while it is running or executing. Okay, fine. If all the read and write operations in the transaction are performed without any error, then from the active state it goes to the partially committed state. And if any instruction fails, then it goes to the failed state. Okay, so from the active state, it moves to the either partially committed state or to the failed state. Depends upon whether any error happened or not. Okay, so if no error happened while this read and write operations, it moves to the partially committed state. Okay, so what is this partially committed state? Partially committed state means it is the state after the final statement has been executed. After the completion of all the read and write operation, the changes are made either in the main memory or in the local buffer. And if the changes are made permanent on the database, then from this partially committed state, the database will change to committed state. If any error occurs, it will go to the failed state. Okay, so from the partially committed, it can move either to the committed state or to the failed state. Depends upon whether any error occur or not. Then the third state is failed state. When any instruction of the transaction fails, it goes to the failed state. That means the normal execution can no longer proceed. That particular transaction gets failed. So that is the failed state. It indicates that the transaction fails. And the fourth state is aborted. After having any type of failure, the transaction goes from the failed state to the aborted state. And in this state, the transaction has been rolled back and the database has been restored to its state prior to the start of the transaction. Okay. So it aborts the changes happened to the transaction if there occurs any failure. And the last state is the committed state. This is the stage when the changes are made permanent on the database and the transaction is complete and therefore terminated in the terminate state. So if there is any in the terminated state, if there is any rollback or the transaction come from the committed state, then the system is consistent and ready for the new transaction and the old transaction is terminated. That is the last state, terminated state. Okay. So these are the various states of the transactions in DBMS. The state diagram explains the relation between the various states. A transaction that completes its execution successfully is said to be committed. So in this video, we discussed about the term transaction, the asset properties of transaction, and the desirable states of transactions. Thank you.